Hello and welcome to News Central TV. My name is Mazino Appeal. The top stories this hour. Senate passes vote of confidence in President Godswill Akpabio amid sexual harassment allegation. And Rivers State House of Assembly calls on the Department of State Services to investigate Chief Judge Justice Simeon Amadi over allegations of age falsification. Also coming up, Southern African Regional Bloc ends military deployment to Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Details coming up shortly. Let's begin by telling you that the Senate has passed a vote of confidence in its president, Senator Godswill Akpabio. The vote was passed anonymously, or rather unanimously, during Thursday's plenary following a motion moved by Senate Leader Opeyemi Bamidele and seconded by Deputy Minority Leader Olalere Oyewumi. The decision comes 48 hours after the suspended chairman of the Senate Committee on Diaspora and NGOs, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, an opposition PDP lawmaker who represented Kogi Central, addressed the Inter-Parliamentary Union in New York, claiming she was suspended for raising allegations of sexual harassment against Akpabio.
The last decision we took, and which concerned one of our sisters here, the senior Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. I'm also aware that when she left the chambers, she went to Brekete Radio, and she went to Arise Television, and she distorted the facts. I'm aware further that she has now externalized the matter by attempting to embarrass the Federal Republic of Nigeria. In this 10th Assembly of the Senate, we have only 4 women, and the 4 of them are all committee chairmen, intentionally, in order to give a voice to women in the parliament. So I thank you for this vote of confidence. I will not take it for granted, and I also have confidence in you and your ability to continue to contribute your quota towards nation building. Let's remain focused on why we are here. These things are distractions and diversionary.
In the meantime, Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, the senator representing Kogi Central, has filed a contempt application against Senate President Godswill Akpabio over her suspension. On March 4, the Federal High Court in Abuja issued an order restraining the Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions from taking disciplinary action against Akpoti-Uduaghan. Justice Obiora Igwatu granted the order following an ex parte application filed by the senator's legal team. However, just 48 hours later, the Senate suspended Akpoti-Uduaghan for 6 months over alleged misconduct. The upper chamber also ordered that her office be locked and all Senate property in her possession returned to the clerk of the National Assembly. The decision came after the Senate adopted a report from the Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions chaired by Senator Neda Imaswa. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Senate has informed the Inter-Parliamentary Union that Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan's suspension was not linked to her allegations of sexual harassment. In a formal response to Akpoti-Uduaghan's claim, the Senate's position was conveyed in a letter read at the IPU Assembly by Kafilat Ogbara, a member of the House of Representatives. Ogbara, who chairs the House Committee on Women Affairs and Social Development in Nigeria's parliamentary representative, or rather is Nigeria's parliamentary representative at the IPU conference in New York. The IPU is a global organization of national parliaments committed to promoting peace, democracy, and sustainable development through diplomacy and dialogue. Akpoti-Uduaghan, who represents Kogi Central in the Senate, had accused Senate President Godswill Akpabio of sexually harassing her. This allegation followed her suspension from the upper legislative chamber over a dispute regarding seating arrangements. Staying with the National Assembly, the House of Representatives Committee on Finance has amended key provisions of President Bola Tinubu's tax bill, addressing concerns raised by stakeholders during a public hearing in February. The revisions impact several contentious areas, including the proposed increase in value-added tax, the introduction of an inheritance tax, taxation on free trade zones, and funding adjustments for TET Fund, NITDA, and NASENI. Presenting the amendments during the bill's consideration on Thursday, Committee Chairman James Faleke noted that while stakeholders had recommended reducing the VAT rate to 5%, the committee proposed maintaining the current 7.5%, which the House subsequently adopted. The committee also removed the proposed inheritance tax and scrapped the planned funding cuts for Naseni, TETFund, and NITDA.
The interest charge as a fine for contravening the law to be at the prevailing CBN monetary policy rate rather than the initially proposed 2% above prevailing rates. Mr. Chairman, I think that every other sections there, because they are so, the critical areas are the ones I have mentioned. Mr. Chairman, may also interest you to note that we proposed for our military men and women, especially those in war fronts, that in view of what they are going through, there's no sacrifice that is too much. And we propose that their payee, personal income tax, they be exempted from personal income tax. Henceforth, this is our submission, Chairman and honorable colleagues.
The House and Committee of the Whole consider the report of the Committee on Finance on a bill for an act to repeal certain acts on taxation and consolidate the legal frameworks relating to taxation and enact the Nigerian Tax Act to provide for taxation of income, transactions, and instruments, and for related matters. And in so doing, approved clauses 1 to 143, clauses 315, clause 383, and clause 387, the schedules, the explanatory memorandum, and the long title of the bill. The Leader of the House, can you please move that?
Let's head to Rivers State now, where the political crisis in the state has taken a new turn, as the State House of Assembly has called on the Department of State Services to investigate the Chief Judge, Justice Simeon Amadi, over allegations of age falsification. The matter was raised during Thursday's plenary session following the submission of documents to the Speaker by the House Leader, Honorable Major Jack. Shortly after, Deputy Speaker Dumle Maul made a formal accusation against Justice Amadi. In the meantime, the Ijaw National Congress and the Rivers State Elders and the Elders Forum have criticized and rejected the alleged plots to use the Rivers State House of Assembly to impeach Governor Siminalayi Fubara. Both groups reacted separately, where they told the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nielsen Wike, to leave Governor Fubara alone to concentrate on leading Rivers State to prosperity. They also asked President Bola Tinubu to call the former governor to order. The president of INC, Professor Benjamin Akaba, called for an urgent intervention from the federal government to avert another crisis. And to discuss this, we're joined by the Executive Director, Not Too Young to Lead Initiative, Elvis Akpobi. Elvis, you're welcome. Once again, good of you to join us this evening.
Thank you.
Great to have you. Now, what is your take on the alleged plots to use the Rivers State House of Assembly to impeach Governor Siminalayi Fubara?
Okay, for me, in the last few months, it's been one issue or the other in Rivers State. And you know that when there's crisis, it hinders development. And if you agree with me, our democracy is under threat at the moment. But most of these are leaders that are vehicles that are meant to be vehicles of, this democracy. They seem to understand that their actions and inactions in the precedents. When we see cases where ordinarily statements that shouldn't come from people who are supposed to be role models, it becomes a norm and it's being celebrated, it calls for questioning. Okay, fine. There are issues of the Supreme Court have, given its verdict, and from what I was told, the governor is trying to make peace with the lawmakers and all that. If really the oath of office that was being taken was centered around putting the Rivers State interest first, and then everybody needs to bury their assets and, develop the state. At the moment, both the legislature is distracted, The Executive Council is distracted, and it hampers growth of Rivers State. Let's not forget lately that young people in Rivers State are becoming musicians, courtesy of this courtesy of this problem. It's either for or against the incumbent governor, while some are for the FCT minister. Let's not forget that the future of Rivers State is bleak at the moment if this is not settled. So for me, I believe everybody involved, all stakeholders involved, should come together. I believe we have elders in Rivers State and they've made their points. And for me, impeaching the governor is not the way forward. It will temper more crisis, because if you see now, the narrative is gravitating towards ethnicity. Is now you will not distract our own. The judges are saying you will not distract our own. Why the FCT minister is using unpleasant words. You can't call a particular ethnic group that produces a large number of where the resources of the state you ran for almost 8 years, you call them minority. For me, it's a very negative statement, and the FCT minister needs to apologize for that statement. And I want to seize this opportunity to call on the president. We contracted governance to him. And in a country of 200 million people, he is the president today. It's a rare privilege. We gave him that contract with our votes, with trust and order that he will appoint people with character, capacity, and competence, people with proven track record. But lately, the FCT minister, I don't know the rage he has for the incumbent governor. His statements are not inspiring. His statements are inciting violence and all that. If really he means well for Rivers State, he should be careful of his statement. But above all, I will advise that everybody should gravitate towards peace, because it's the only way there is peace we can make progress in Rivers State.
All right, now, Mr. Akpoti, ministers of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Nelson Wike, during a media chat on Wednesday, claimed that an Ijaw man wouldn't have become governor in Rivers State without his support. Now, I know you made a reference to this. He further said Ijaw ethnic group doesn't constitute the majority in any of the Niger Delta states except Bayelsa. You've told us your thoughts on that, but let's focus on the gravity of such a statement coming from an FCT minister. What do you think might transpire from this kind of statement, especially from the Ijaw people?
That statement is inciting violence. For me, I believe that statement was made on a Dutch courage. I stand to be corrected, because for someone who did not fall from the sky to become a governor, he was supported. If he says an Ijaw man wouldn't have become a governor if not for his support, he shouldn't have amnesia to remember that maybe him too wouldn't have become a governor if the support did not come from an Ijaw man. And you can't call, like I said, I'll still reiterate again, you cannot call any ethnic group in Nigeria minority. Every ethnic group today contributes to the GDP of this country. Right. And as far as I'm concerned, an Ijaw man has been a president, and he did well. He obeyed the rule of law. So for someone like him who has benefited from the support of the Ijaws, he should apologize for making such statement. Death, they say, is inevitable. If the likes of Ike Clark were alive, I'm not sure the FCT minister will have that courage to use such negative words.
Are you expecting any response? Mr. Akpoti, are you expecting any response from the Ijaw people? I think maybe I should have asked it that way. Would you be expecting any response from the Ijaw people?
Yes.
And thank you for making the reference to the former president as an Ijaw man as well. What kind of response would you be expecting from this group and also the president, the former president?
For the former president, I've been privileged to, I worked with him during the last election observation in Liberia, AU election as an electoral observer. I know his antecedent is a calm person, but I know as an elder statesman, he will address it in his own capacity. But it's time someone tell the FCT minister that Nigeria does not belong to him. He led and governed Rivers State for 8 years, and nobody did know. Someone handed over to him. He governed that place in peace. I see no reason why he should not let the incumbent have peace, irrespective of whatever crisis they must have had, whatever misunderstandings they must have had. I think there should be a middle ground. But bringing ethnicity into it, coming on national TV to say a particular ethnic group is minority, he went below the belt with that, and he should apologize.
Okay,
That's my take.
So let's talk about the involvement of the federal government. We saw the president actually reach out to the parties involved. What role, if any, should the federal government play in resolving the political crisis in Rivers State?
If we'll talk about the federal government, invariably we're talking about the president. For me, I'm very, very disappointed, and I'm half annoyed that this is not the first time the president is calling such meeting. Invariably, for the number one citizen of this country to call a first meeting, both parties did not share their sweat. He's calling a second meeting, and still we are still having crisis, meaning there's more to this issue than the eyes can see. Is either the president is only trying to play politics with Rivers State, or is not willing to settle the issue yet? Because if the president appointed the minister of the FCT, if they're on a table and he says, stay away from this state, focus on whatever you're doing at the FCT. Fine, I was in Abuja the last time, and I saw things he was doing. I can commend him, but I commend his arrogance in leadership position. I condemn his arrogant character when it comes to leadership. So for me, I think the president should use his office to talk to both parties to share their sword. Because what I'm saying, I think they're just, treating. They're not treating the substance of the problem. I think it's just virtual posturing that is going on with this issue. He should sit both parties down, give his word, and everybody should obey. He is the president.
I always want to say thank you for
if there is no politics around. If his settlement should not be in sync with party differences or politics. If he is a president, is meant to protect lives and properties from the way the Rivers State crisis issue is going, we might find out that place might be a shadow of itself. It should continue in this trajectory. So we should, as a matter of fact, urgency.
Elvis, you don't want us to end this conversation. I can see you don't want to end this conversation. I can understand the passion. In any case, we have to draw to a close this conversation. But thank you very much for giving us your expert opinion on the matters of Rivers State. Thank you, Elvis.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Now let's go on a break. And when we get back, House of Representatives retains 7.5% VAT, scraps inheritance tax, and other proposals. Details for this and more after we return. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Now, let's tell you that the internal crisis within the People's Democratic Party appears to be worsening as the party's National Disciplinary Committee has recommended the expulsion of Samuel Anyanwu, a close ally of former Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike. Now, the recommendations follows Anyanwu's failure to respond to allegations brought against him by the party's Young Generation Caucus. In a letter signed by NDC Chairman Tommy Kimi, the committee said Anyanwu was given the opportunity to defend himself but failed to do so. The PDP has been grappling with internal divisions since the 2023 presidential election, with tensions between rival factions intensifying over the past 5 months. Despite efforts by the National Executive Committee to resolve disputes, the crisis within the party continues to deepen. So to discuss this, we are joined by convener PDP Youth Alliance for Good Governance, David Godwin. David Godwin, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us on the news. I'm going to go right ahead with my question here, and please do note there's a delay, so I'll be expecting you to also consider that. Now, can you please elaborate on the specific provisions of the PDP constitution that the disciplinary committee cited in recommending Senator Anyanwu's expulsion?
Thank you very much, and good evening. And the provisions of the People's Democratic Party Constitution is very clear on the modus and then technicalities to be adopted as it regards disciplinary measures in the party. And then I want to say that in light of the crisis that has been happening, there was a petition that was rightly submitted to the Tom Ikini led disciplinary committee, which is also which has Ita Jagede SAN as the secretary of that party. And then in the spirit of fair hearing, as provided as stipulated in the constitution of the party, has actually, extended invitation to the erstwhile national secretary of the People's Democratic Party. I speak to the person of Senator Samuel Nenekayawu to make himself available and answer issues bordering on alleged gross misconduct, abuse of office, anti-party, and other related issues. And it might interest the Nigerian public to know that Sam Dadi, that Senator Samuel Aya, will never bother to appear on that disciplinary committee. Instead, I think he was here and there shopping for court injunctions to stop the disciplinary committee, the Tommy King disciplinary committee, from sitting and then holding him to account to answer some of those questions bordering on gross misconduct of abuse of office, anti-party related allegations, and he never bothered to appear. And then, as clearly provided in the provision of the constitution of the party, the Tom Ikini-led disciplinary committee to start and then look at some of the petitions that was before that committee, and then in their own wisdom recommended, since he was not available, Senator Aya was not available to defend himself, and then the committee recommended, note that the committee did not expel the former national secretary of the party. It was only a recommendation submitted to the NWC. And then if you ask me, and then to some other stakeholders in the party and then by watchers, they know that we clearly understand what is going on in the party. And then the issues of anti-party is not new as regards some of these key holders in the party, especially those that are hell-bent on destroying the party. For some people who say they are hell-bent on choking the party for the president and APC, so they can provide a big candidate ahead of the 2027 general elections. And then some of us have actually welcomed these recommendations. Welcomed these recommendations wholeheartedly and said, look, this is the right thing to do. Some of us have actually also said in the past that the issues of the party boils down to disciplinary measures, and people are no longer held accountable to some of the things they do in the party. And then if you look at it, it's now becoming more like the party has no internal mechanism to deal with such issues. It was now looking like some persons have assumed larger than life in the party. Whereas we clearly know that no single individual is greater than the party. The party supremacy must start at any time.
Now, David, you made mention of the fact that Mr. Anyanwu was not present.
Yeah.
David, you made mention that Anyanwu was not present for his defense. Now, let's talk about due process here. How does this affect due process within the party, within this issue?
The issue of fair hearing is part of the disciplinary measures in the Constitution. And then it is also stated in the party constitution that as a NEC member, it is only the NEC. The NEC will set up a disciplinary committee that is going to invite whoever, in this case, Senator Samuel Anyanwu, to face the panel. And then he failed to show up. And then for me, as far as I'm concerned, the due process has been followed. So it was not like the Tom Ikini disciplinary committee started somewhere and then decided just to pass whatever judgment they want to pass. No. They extended, the documents are even in public domain. They extended, an invitation to the former national secretary of the party to come and answer for this, allegations bordering on anti-party activities, abuse of office, and what have you. And then he clearly refused to show up. In fact, there were even some instances in the social media space where some of his aides alleged that Sandali is too big to appear before any committee bordering on disciplinary measures. So for me, I think the issue of due process has been followed to the letter in this case.
Okay. All right then. So that we have to move on. We'll have to end this conversation here, but thank you very much, David, for giving us your afternoon, or rather your evening, to join us here on the news. Thank you, David.
Thank you very much.
Now, the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, has attributed the proliferation of universities to mounting pressure from lawmakers. Alausa spoke at the third edition of the 2025 Ministerial Press Briefing in Abuja on Thursday, at a time the federal government has come under increasing pressure to reform the country's education sector. With nearly 200 bills pending in the National Assembly for the creation of new universities, the minister emphasized that strengthening the capacity of existing institutions is more important than establishing new ones.
The process on how this will be done. We've gotten the NIPSI to join us as well, so that we can now have a register that is clean, and as these funds go to these parents, we know where exactly we're paying the right people. So we have a clear plan to address out-of-school children. We also have launched a Lumina program for a girl child education. That was launched just last week. That part of our strategy is being led by our Honorable Minister of State for Education. So we have a clear strategy on how to increase the number of to reduce the burden of.
The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has assured that the Abuja International Conference Center, which is currently being renovated, will be completed on schedule ahead of the May 29 second-year anniversary of the current government. The minister didn't, or rather during an inspection at the facility with several other road projects in Abuja, commended the quality of work being done there, saying that the contractors have performed creditably well.
And have a total rehabilitation of the International Conference Center. And we're happy with the speed of work going on. I will believe by May ending, it will be one of those projects that Mr. President will commission in his second year in office. We also have gone to the Ossex to Wasak, where CGC is directly involved. And you have had a contractor say, by the grace of God, by May, we'll also inaugurate that project. We have gone to N5, where Julius Berger is doing. You can see the quality of work going on there. But I can tell you I doubt the possibility of that being completed by May. I can tell you I'm quite very pleased.
Our town hall meeting bringing together law enforcement officials, civil society organizations and community stakeholders to discuss human rights, police accountability and criminal justice administration has been held in Lagos. The meeting, organized by RULAC, aimed to foster dialogue and promote transparency and accountability within the policing system. The meeting provided a platform for participants to identify several key areas for improvement, including the need for increased transparency and accountability within the police force, as well as the importance of providing training and resources to support law enforcement officials in their work.
I would score just the fact that we have the law, I will score it high. But in implementation, there's such a big gap. So some of the issues that even the Attorney General representatives has talked about. So things like parading of suspects on TV, the law prohibits it. But is that what happens?
We have heard now that the maximum days given to officers in that department, that is the Department of Public Prosecution, is just 10 days. So why are people spending 1 year, 6 months, 7 months in detention?
We shouldn't take these criticisms in a negative light, but see how we can begin to use this information to address the gaps or the issues, as it were, that we have been identified.
By upholding these values, police complaint mechanisms can ensure public trust and confidence in law enforcement, identify and address systemic issues and service failures, promote accountability and transparency within the police force, and foster a culture of continuous improvement and learning.
Now, access to clean and potable water remains a major challenge for many communities in Lagos, despite being Nigeria's economic hub. Residents in several areas struggle daily to find safe drinking water, resorting to unhealthy practices that put their health at risk. News Central's correspondent Samuya Abubakar has the details here.
This is Agege, one of the many areas in Lagos where access to clean water is a daily struggle. For residents here, getting potable water is not just a challenge, it is a crisis. Many depend on unreliable boreholes, contaminated wells, and in some cases, water vendors who charge exorbitant prices.
It's very hard to get water because from where I'm living, I used to trek down to fetch water. Assuming you are here yesterday, you can see there are many people crowded there. There's scarcity of water, there is no light. Since 3 days or 4 days now, there's no light here. We don't know the issue all about. And it's not being easy waking up in the morning, fetch water to bathe my baby, and one is going to school also. It's very, very stressful.
That's a tallafa. I can't samulwa. Ko suruji haka na taimaka ma al'umma. Za su roji na taimaka ma al'umma wada wahala zai rage ko ba haka ba. Insha Allah. Mu san wannan wahala na ruwa shi rage. Da in ya rage mu ma dadin mu ne.
Flooding poses a major threat to water quality in Lagos. Sewage systems overflow, contaminating water sources with harmful bacteria and pollutants. This leads to a spike in waterborne diseases, especially in local communities.
People resorting to digging boreholes. This is most rampant in Lagos. I would say that Lagos, and by extension Nigeria, will have one of the most drilled aquifers in the world. And these are serious environmental implications. It has serious geological implications. It even has serious social justice implications, because what it then means is that it is those who are able to afford the cost of sinking boreholes and being able to access power, electricity supply, are the ones who have access to water. And they don't even use it sustainably. They don't use it judiciously. There's no regulation in that regard.
You know, one thing about water is that it depends the way you do it. The depth, the increase in depth make the water that's coming out from the borehole to be pure. So for this area, there are some people, when they do their borehole, it's around 110 feet, 120. But when I do my own, I have to go to 150.
The Lagos state government has launched various water projects, but the reality on the ground tells a different story. Now this is the current situation. And until concrete solutions are implemented, millions of Lagos residents will continue to face this daily struggle, putting their health and well-being at risk. These questions remain, so how long will they have to wait? In Lagos, for News Central, Sumaya Abubakar.
Welcome back. The Southern African Regional Bloc decided Thursday to end its military deployment to the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, where it lost more than a dozen soldiers in conflicts since January. The 16-nation Southern African Development Committee took the decision at a virtual summit on a conflict in the area that has seen some 3 decades of unrest and claimed millions of lives. The summit terminated the mandate for the SAMIDRC and directed the commencement of a phased withdrawal of the troops from the DR Congo. The SADC mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo, made up of soldiers from Malawi, Tanzania, and South Africa, was sent to the region in December 2023 to help the government of the DRC restore peace and security.
This extraordinary summit has made the bold decision to withdraw our mission from the Eastern DRC. We must speed up the implementation of the decisions made during the joint SADC EAC meeting. These include the merger of the Rwanda and Nairobi peace processes. More so, that dialogue is a key cog to usher lasting peace to the people of DRC. As our mission enters the withdrawal phase, we appeal for continued support to facilitate the safe withdrawal of all our troops and evacuation of our equipment.
Staying in South Africa, which is hosting the highly anticipated Africa Trade Conference 2025, a pivotal event that brings together business leaders, policymakers, and innovators from across the continent for a common goal to enhance trade and collaboration among African nations. With the continent facing a myriad of challenges ranging from regulatory hurdles to infrastructural gaps, this conference serves as a crucial platform for stakeholders to engage in meaningful dialogue.
This gathering brings together key stakeholders from across the continent, including business leaders, government officials, and trade experts, all focused on addressing one critical question: how can African countries trade more effectively with one another?
It's important because it creates a starting point for us to have the relevant conversations to start to address the trade issues we have in Africa.
Amidst a backdrop of diverse challenges ranging from complex trade regulations to inadequate infrastructure, this conference serves as a vital platform for dialogue. Participants are not only sharing insights, but also collaborating on innovative solutions to break persistent trade barriers.
We need to influence policymakers and governments in order for us to be able to have a borderless Africa, as well as learn from each other and create and build that intra-Africa trade.
The agents for intracontinental trade has never been clearer. Experts emphasize that by fostering stronger ties amid African nations for a more interconnected and thriving marketplace, unlocking opportunities for the growth and development.
The idea is that trade should be more within Africa, not outside Africa. What we find today is that a lot of that trade is really outside Africa. So only 18% of trade is intra-African trade. The rest is outside of Africa. Now, if you look at the other unions, if you look at the European Union, you look at the Asian Union, about 50%. So how do we ensure that we increase? And the participants today have tried to provide a solution. So that's what AFCC is pushing now.
As the discussions unfold, these stakeholders are committed to finding actionable pathway to boost intra-African trade and essential steps towards economic resilience and self-sufficiency.
One of the things we've been able to unlock in Nigeria is the opportunity for small businesses to facilitate trade. And we've been able to see how we're able to facilitate funding and give them abilities to be able to trade. So what we're looking to see is how do we replicate this across the different markets that we play in on the continent.
It's a crucial opportunity to map out strategies that can eliminate trade barriers and expand market reach. In Cape Town, for News Central, Bongani Sisiba.
Russian President Vladimir Putin on Thursday said he has reservations about the 30-day ceasefire proposal to end the fighting in neighboring Ukraine, saying it's not clear how the situation would develop in the region of Kursk and elsewhere if a ceasefire was implemented. Putin welcomed the U.S. idea as great and correct and said Russia supports it in theory, but that several things still need to be discussed before a deal is reached. He also raised a number of questions about a potential ceasefire, including how it would be verified. He said any ceasefire must be aimed at a long-lasting peace, considering the root causes of the crisis. It's not the first time Putin has indirectly indicted Ukraine as the said root cause of the war.
С предложениями прекратить боевые действия. Но исходим из того, что это прекращение должно быть таким, которое привело бы к долгосрочному миру и устранило бы первоначальные причины этого кризиса.
A young Nigerian, Stanley Anyegbugu, has emerged winner of African Region of 2025 Commonwealth Youth Awards held in London. The colorful ceremony honors the remarkable contributions of young leaders aged 15 to 29 from across the Commonwealth nations who have made significant impacts in their communities, aligning with the Sustainable Development Goals. Here, News Central's international correspondent, Afia Hagen, has more.
The
Commonwealth Youth Award celebrates the dedication and innovation of young people striving to make the world a better place. This year's awards takes place at Marlborough House, the headquarters of the Commonwealth Secretariat, and brings together 20 regional finalists selected from hundreds of nominations. Each finalist receives a £1,000 grant, a trophy and a certificate in recognition of their efforts. From this group, 5 regional winners are announced, each receiving an additional £2,000. Stanley Adegbogu was the exceptional individual honoured as the Commonwealth Young Person of the Year, securing a total of £5,000 to further his work. The finalists represent a diverse array of projects, from environmental conservation efforts to social justice initiatives. Their work exemplifies the spirit of the Commonwealth and highlights the pivotal role youth play in driving positive change.
I'm excited and hopeful. This shows like great things do come up from Africa, and this is one of that. Staying here not just only as the Young Person of the Year for Commonwealth, but also representing 56 countries of amazing young people. It's an amazing accomplishment for Africa to be, because this is not just about me, it's about Africa as well. So I am extremely proud to be representing Africa.
This is an incredible honor, not just for me, for my team, for my mentor, and for entire mental health community. Working mental health is very challenging, but this validates our work and years of struggle.
So far, it's given me a decent amount of recognition and given me a bolster to just continue the work and have attracted a whole lot more eyes to the work and the solutions that we've been focusing on. And so hopefully through these outputs, we'll be able to scale.
Our work is particularly focused on providing educational resources and support, and this is currently being done at a global scale. But we've already started to do pilots in specific countries. These include India for the Central Board, Pakistan for Federal Board, and actually Nigeria for the WIC exams. And by leveraging the network of the Commonwealth, we're looking to develop our work in the public school system. So can we provide Z-notes for students doing the national curriculums and ensuring that the public school systems are better supported as well?
Being part of the Commonwealth is amazing and honor, and it brings history to me and the Pacific for this Commonwealth Award.
The ceremony is part of a series of events marking Commonwealth Day, celebrated across Africa, Asia, the Caribbean, the Americas, the Pacific and Europe. It underscores the collective commitment to empowering youth and fostering a sustainable future for all. As the Commonwealth Youth Awards shine a spotlight on these young changemakers, they inspire a global audience, reminding us all of the extraordinary potential within our youth to shape a better tomorrow. For News Central, I'm Afia Hagen.
And that's all this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories brought your way. Senate has passed vote of confidence in Godswill Akpabio's leadership amid sexual harassment allegation. Also, Rivers State House of Assembly has called on the Department of State Services to investigate Chief Judge Justice Simeon Amadi over allegations of age falsification. We also told you that Southern African Regional Bloc has ended military deployment to Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Do remember, you can send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on your screens now. And do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV, Channel 422, GoTV, Channel 23, Star Times 274, Avo TV, and of course on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. My name is Mazino Apio.